And welcome back. We are into the middle of the afternoon at Mobile World Congress, and I'm joined by Moritz Schiebold from Volumental. Now, we're going to be talking about some very interesting things about, well, 3D. A couple of different topics. I won't spoil the interview before it starts, but thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me over here.
Sorry about that. So can you tell me a little bit about Volumental?
Yes, so we are a Swedish startup that focuses on getting the individual back at the center of the products and services they consume. And we're trying to do that by using cutting-edge 3D technology. So specifically, we're working on how you can use mobile devices to get accurate scans of yourself and then connect that data that you collected with companies that can provide you with customized products and services.
Awesome. And can you tell me what you've announced here at the show?
So here at the show, we've announced a 3D selfie app that is, it's a tech demo that we did together with a Swiss company called Dacuda. And what's really cool about it is that we're not using an active 3D sensor. So we don't have any IR projector that we're relying on, but rather we're working with Dacuda who are creating a depth map from RGB data and a gyro using SLAM, and then we take that data and create a really nice looking 3D selfie from it.
So obviously we're not so much interested in having the perfect 3D selfie, or I feel like the average person isn't hopefully interested in this coming out as a standalone application. Yeah. Now, what are the greater implications for being able to create that really in-depth map of your face using just the smartphone camera?
Exactly. So we at Volumental, we really believe that generic use cases with such an undefined value for an end user are not going to solve the question of what pushes the 3D ecosystem forward. But you really have to understand how you can use that kind of technology to provide an experience that goes beyond what is currently available. So we're focusing on two body parts at the moment, which is feet and faces. And for those body parts, we're looking at a variety of applications to use that data. So talking about faces, for example, we're currently in talks with big brands that want to use that kind of data to provide bespoke eyewear using additive manufacturing. So just imagine in the future, you sit at home, you have your 2-in-1 in front of you with the RealSense camera, you take a 1-second 3D selfie, and then based on that, you get the perfect fitting glasses for you. It's produced using 3D printing, and you never have to worry about anything like falling off your nose again.
Oh, exciting. And so, do you have any partners that you talk about that you have like products that are coming out onto the market or services that you're currently offering?
So we're not yet at a stage where we have our partnerships in the public, but we're working with North America's biggest manufacturer of customized insoles for feet.
Okay.
And we're currently piloting with a large shoe retailer in the US on how to use this kind of technology in their stores to today give a fit recommendation, but in the future use that kind of data to also provide customized products.
Absolutely. I mean, feet definitely make sense to me because there's a store in Canada called the Running Room, and then you go there and they basically look at your feet and then they decide what type of running shoe you need, right? Whether it's one with like high arch support or has, like lower or higher areas at the back or the sides, or the toe is more narrow or wide. I mean, like, just to get like the perfect shoe for the kind of foot you have and the runner that you are.
Yeah.
Right? And so feet make perfect sense for something like this.
Yeah. What is interesting really is that we're starting to be at a point in time in which we actually have the capabilities on the manufacturing side that we can somehow turn around this relationship. So at the moment, the kind of technologies that you see, they are trying to understand how a human relates to a product. But now we're just in a shift in which we can do a super easy data capture on the individual as such. But then we also have we're increasingly having the production means to take that data and actually adapt a product to the person as such, which really turns around the way we think about manufacturing, the way we think about how we as an individual relate to the things that we consume, and it enables a future world that's going to be much more customized, much more individualized, that really brings you back into the core of what you have on your body and the services that you're using.
Now, apart from, say, glasses for the face, what other applications are you thinking about launching for all of that?
So we're talking with glass manufacturers at the moment. We're talking with headphone manufacturers, and then we're talking with people that want to use that kind of data for footwear, and that's medical and athletic.
Okay, so medical would more be around, like, say, orthopedic insoles or something in that kind of vein.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a very interesting market because they're very used to working with 3D data already.
Now, what kind of hardware? So we're talking about what you launched here at the show would be a technical showcase around a 3D selfie of the face. Now, this can happen with any smartphone camera?
This potentially could happen with any smartphone camera if you have if you fulfill certain quality requirements.
Yeah, it would probably need to be like X amount of megapixels.
Exactly.
And providing this kind of lighting, something like that.
Exactly.
So then you would just like launch download an application for your phone in order to kind of capture all of that data and then make something interesting out of it?
Exactly. So we're currently talking with OEMs on how something like that could potentially be integrated in a future experience.
Okay, excellent. So, with all of this talk, kind of like about biometric scanning, there's a couple of interesting demos that I've seen on the show floor with body scanning, and there's like just beside Intel is a ZTE's booth, and they actually have like a retina scan.
Yeah.
Right, and you have to kind of wonder, like, can a smartphone camera really scan your retina? Right. Potentially it could, but the interesting thing for me is when you start to use these things for like security or that kind of stuff, and you can the camera has to or the program then has to analyze whether or not your face is moving and the lighting's changing and if it's a photo or not, and like is that kind of area of scanning something that you guys are kind of playing around with?
No, not at all. Not at all. We're really interested in. We have had people inquiring about that. There is the potential to use the kind of things that we're building for something like that, but we're really we're focusing on working with brands.
Okay.
So we're really trying to do that, and then we work together with companies like Intel as a tech partner to push those solutions faster out to the right people.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the production process of how something like this would roll out. So, if you're making customized footwear, you're essentially kind of disrupting the value chain for how typical production occurs. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of ecosystem you see coming up around that kind of unique offering?
Yeah, it's a fairly complex thing, and it's something that you really have to stage, because it's going to be incredibly difficult to come with a solution into an industry that has essentially done the same process for 100 years and tell them to completely change it overnight. So what we can provide with the kind of data that we can gather is a 3D image of a foot. And then what you need to do is you need to take the 3D model of a foot and relate it to what they call a last, because the last is at the core of manufacturing a shoe. And today there is software solutions how you can identify what is the perfect last depending on your foot shape. In the future we can provide that in a much more granular way. And then even further down the road, you can move away from having something like this physical, because still shoe production is using a physical last, And you can hopefully push much more of that chain into a digital environment where you actually can scan a foot, relate that to a digital last, have a digital design process of the shoe, and then in the end you can potentially end with the push button solution where you have the outcome of a 3D printed shoe. But there's a lot of steps to take to get there, and we're kind of like trying to solve it issue by issue.
So how much are you working with 3D printing?
We are not 3D printing ourselves.
Okay.
We are at the moment we're a software-only company.
But are you?
And we're working then with working with people that use that as a manufacturing technology. Yeah?
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. So, like creating the 3D render maps in order for people to actually take that data and make something very interesting of it. Now, material-wise, like in the production process, can you comment on anything about the challenges around that?
So one of the issues here is that you want to work with materials that have like a certain level of that have a rigidity level that allows it to be a comfortable product in the end. You don't want to work around with a wooden shoe.
No, we don't want that.
That's not going to be super comfortable. And those kind of materials, they are around. They are increasingly emerging. One of the difficult things there at the moment is the price point. So you really want to provide a product that, in terms of pricing, will be competing with the price point of products that are currently serving a mass market out there. And from that, we're very far away at the moment. So it's going to be a lot about bringing that price point down, whilst at the same time thinking how you can work with different technologies in the manufacturing process so that you don't necessarily have to 3D print the entire shoe, but just the parts that are relating to something like the fit.
Awesome. Well, you know, it's always refreshing to talk to somebody who's trying to like disrupt a little bit the traditional standards of how things are happening today. And obviously, I love the idea of having bespoke everything. So, Moritz, thanks so much for taking the time to join me and talk about a little bit of 3D scanning and, well, potentially creating new ways of delivering products to consumers.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just be back in a few minutes with the next interview. We are almost wrapped up with MWC, so if you guys have any questions or want to hear anything about our thoughts or anything before the stream is over, please hit us up in Twitter. We are there. As always, you can actually tweet me directly at Nicole_Scooter, sorry. And Moritz, thank you so much again from Volumental.